Greetings, Keshites. I'm Dave Hadden, Warden of Worlds at Orthain Productions and author of the Kingdom of Keshanar. With Keshanar, we wanted to do something a little different. We wanted to dive in and really pull out the authentic plot hooks that ancient Egypt has to offer. And of course, what better place to do that than Egypt? This is not a green screen. We have made the investment to come here to meet with Egyptian Egyptologists and to visit these sites and really dive into the legacy, archaeological legacy that is ancient Egypt. And it's been an incredible experience. And there's so much more yet to come. We met with the directors of the Memnon site. So you're familiar with Rob Memnon. He's the founder of Keshanar. And we actually got to go to the Memnon dig and talk with Hudik, who is the professor of Egyptology, and for 25 years she's been managing that site, and it was an incredible privilege. And just so much inspiration to be had if you just dig a little deeper and really explore the canon that has been created by Western and Eastern Egyptologists from all of the legacy of this 5,000-year-old culture. And we have incredible ideas that we're going to be pulling from this and delivering to you in the Keshanar series of modules and the setting. And I really just can't wait to release this and to bring the majesty of ancient Egypt, the mystery of ancient Egypt, to your tabletop. It's been a real privilege to be here and to have the honor to go into the Great Pyramid of Giza and experience it from the inside in terms of how it was constructed. The ancient Egyptians were big on the afterlife. And so if your player dies in Keshanar, it's going to be a completely different experience. You're not going to be in limbo waiting to be raised. There's going to be something that you're going to have to face. And life and death, just like in ancient Egypt, is going to be part and parcel of how you experience our campaign. Over the course of the next 2 weeks, we're going to be visiting all of the sites of ancient Egypt. We've rented this flat in Giza so that we can draw our inspiration from being in the shadow of the actual pyramids. The Great Pyramid of Cheops is in the background, and there's 2.2 million stones that make up that incredible artifact. And we look at it today and we say, how do they build it? They didn't have modern machinery. They really didn't have any way to even cut the stones if you look at it from a modern perspective, right? They didn't have diamond-tipped saws. I had a company before I got into developing this entire setting and starting Orthain Productions. I had a company that did restoration of ancient temples, and I did that in multiple different continents. And but I had the advantage of modern machinery. But how did they move these giant stones? How did they cut them? And they've left us the clues to that. They didn't think it was particularly important. They didn't explain a lot about how they did it. But we've been able to pick up the pieces about how they actually pulled it off. And it turns out, for instance, this is just a fascinating anecdote, that the way they carved the limestone and granite blocks that they used to build these incredible artifacts is just by using dolomite pounding stones. And we look at that and we say, there's just no way, because you can only remove 0.5 kilogram per hour if you're bashing granite with a dolomite pounding stone. But that's actually how they did it. And these amazing scientists, Scientists Against Myth is Russian scientists. I encourage you to look at their videos and to dig more deeply into the level of patience that was required and commitment to actually create these incredible edifices. And we'll put the links in the video below. But they simply used a harder material to remove the softer material. And they showed that, for instance, in Aswan, the unfinished obelisk that cracked, and so they gave up on that project. That was a really huge benefit for us to be able to see that, because it demonstrated how they were actually able to remove all that material. And simply by taking a dolomite stone and pounding it against another material. 0.5 kilogram an hour. So they showed that 150 people using that method could have created that obelisk, which would have been the largest obelisk they ever created, in 2 years. So the level of patience and commitment required to produce these incredible artifacts is just mind-boggling. You know, it demonstrates their commitment to their gods, to their mythos, and to the afterlife. And there's just so much inspiration that we're looking forward to taking from this trip that we're about to embark on with our crew. You know, we've brought representatives from like our gaming team to Egypt in order to explore these ancient sites. Our big commitment to you as players is that with this setting and with the campaign that we're going to produce, is that you will learn really interesting things about ancient Egypt. You know, we're all fascinated by it. You wouldn't be watching this video, and you wouldn't be part of the Keshite conclave and like have an interest in what we're doing. But we have a very solid commitment to making sure that we're representing ancient Egypt accurately. You know, we have an actual Egyptologist on our staff, Dr. Jill Waller, and I get into all these little, you know, kind of deep dive explorations with her about the different representations of the gods in the tombs and what they meant and what their role was. Because as players, with this incredible experiential gaming capability that we have with TTRPG, we can actually learn about these things by living them out through the lives of our players and experiencing them in a completely different way. And I think that the reason why we're all so committed to this platform is that, you know, it's more than a game. At the end of the day, it's a way for us to experience these things. You know, that's the thing that makes TTRPG so great, is that we're not just playing a game, we're experiencing a sort of alternate life, but through the context of another culture, you know, because the cultures of our history creates the basis whereby we are able to, you know, it creates the richness, you know, like the monsters, the magic, the theology that constructs these experiences for us. And I felt that with Orthain and with Keshanar, we needed to be true to form and make sure that we're doing it justice. But it became more than that, you know. So as we dive into this whole exploration, there's so much to learn from ancient Egypt. I mean, there's so much we don't know, but the things that we do know are fascinating. And in terms of how it's informed the development of Western culture. And so you will learn things about ancient Egypt that you didn't know as a result of just playing this game. And, you know, I think that it will be a rewarding and enriching experience for all of you. And that's our goal. So, you know, we're taking this incredibly seriously, obviously. And I hope that you enjoy it. So, you know, this has been basically my entire life work. You know, I started 40 years ago in high school, and the very first module that, one of the very first modules that TSR created was the Desert of Desolation series by Tracy and Laura Hickman. And they did a great job of like capturing a lot of the mythos and culture and art, you know, of ancient Egypt, and creating an experiential sort of gaming experience from that. And, you know, that's really what it's kind of kicked off my love and fascination for ancient Egypt. And, you know, that entire time I've been homebrewing my own campaign, which is Keshanar now. And, but, you know, now that we have the time and the team, you know, to really to kind of dive into this and to make it authentic, it's been an incredible experience because, you know, we're committed to making sure that we're representing ancient Egypt in an accurate way. So as you go through the module, you'll learn things. You'll learn things about ancient Egypt that you didn't expect, you know, and all the ways that they've influenced our culture. You know, the ancient Egyptians were fascinated by the afterlife, but we're fascinated by the afterlife in our culture. You know, we still embalm and bury our dead in boxes or sepulchers. You know, that's because of the ancient Egyptians. You know, like I've got lapels on my coat because, you know, from Lepus, was from like the nemes, you know, the headdress of ancient pharaohs. And but there's a lot of things that I think that have slipped, you know, that we haven't paid enough attention to about ancient Egypt that I think could enrich our lives today. You know, like the concept of ma'at, you know, or balance. You know, we all need more balance in our life. And they there's a reason why their culture lasted as long as it did. You know, I'm an American, and you know, our history is 200 years old. Ancient Egyptian history is 5,000 years old. And if you ever get the opportunity to come here, and I feel super privileged for having the ability to be here and to experience this, and then you will just be overwhelmed by the legacy that the ancient Egyptians left us. And buried amongst their, you know, their archaeological sites, and, you know, huge shout out to like the Egyptian government even for like doing a really spectacular job of curating these sites and preserving them and maintaining them, and both Eastern and Western Egyptologists for exploring it and codifying the canon, which represents the body of knowledge of Egyptology today. It's just a huge, rich source of inspiration for a tabletop role-playing game. And I think the thing that excites me the most is that, you know, you go to a conference. I think we just did, we did GaryCon, and then we did North Texas RPG, and then we did Gamehole Con, and next year we'll be at Gen Con. You can see like the fervor, right? And the commitment of gamers to this type of gaming experience. And, you know, I have a little theory about why this is the case and why we're all so passionate about this game. It's because it's experiential, you know, and because you as the players are directing and creating the experience. And it's a burden on the game master to have the resources and the content organized in such a way as the game master can access them quickly when, like, you know, the players do that unexpected thing. And so it's you know, we have an eye toward that, right? In terms of making our content accessible, making it easy to use, but at the end of the day, helping you, the game master, craft this experience for your players that is not only rich and rewarding, but also, you know, teaches the players something about ancient Egypt and about all the incredible cultural contributions that this society has made to our modern society. And so I hope one day you get to come here, and, you know, we're going to have this is our inspiration tour, but we're going to have a reunion tour, and come here again in a year or two after we launch the game. Our Kickstarter will come out in a few months, and you know, we've already made a massive investment in producing this content and making sure that it's true to form in terms of representing ancient Egyptian archaeology and Egyptology, and it's not pedantic. You know, it has given us so many incredible ideas. I mean, did you know that the ancient Egyptians invented the gargoyle? You know, and that Apep, the great worm of destruction, which represented kind of the heat death of the universe for ancient Egyptians, that were, you know, in time, you know, the entropy of time, you know, was probably one of the original inspirations for the dragon. And the ancient Egyptians produced the first D20, and we found it in a tomb in 2,200 years ago. We found the first D20, and because the ancient Egyptians produced it. And so actually part of our Kickstarter is we're going to be creating a model of that, 3D printing these D20s so you can have them to roll at the table. But how cool is that? You know, like, you're going to make your life and death decisions based on the exact same gaming tool that ancient Egyptians used, you know, to do the same thing for whatever games they played. It's never ending. Like, the more I dig, the more I pull on these threads, the more I discover, which are not just fascinating things to understand about ancient Egypt, but are incredible contributions to the game world and to the gaming experience that we're going to be providing for you. And thank you for your patience. It takes time to do this right. But we're fully committed. We're a large team. We have an international assemblage of artists that are contributing to this. There's no AI in anything that we're doing. This is handcrafted, people-built content. You know, like our art director, Jordan, call out to you. She is incredible. You know, like, if she wasn't tilting at a medieval, you know, fair, then she was working on her Masters of Fine Arts with an emphasis on ancient textiles. And she brought in, like, these little important aspects, like they didn't have that kind of fabric, you know, like, and in order to have the kinds of fabrics that they represented, then they would have to have, you know, a whole economy behind that. And so we didn't just take our map and splatter a bunch of cities around and call it a day. Like, we have built an ecosystem in the Kingdom of Keshanar that represents the industries and, you know, the trades, the religion, and the culture of the peoples of ancient Egypt. You know, we decided early on that we weren't going to build this as a true historical kind of role play, even though I love that, because I geek out at that kind of, like, you know, recreating ancient battles and whatnot. But the reason we did that is because there's still so little we truly understand about ancient Egypt. So we need a little bit of artist license, but our resident Egyptologist, Dr. Jill Waller, goes through everything that we produce, all the writing that we produce, to make sure that, to the extent that Keshanar does, which is heavily, tie in to the canon that is the body of knowledge of ancient Egypt, that we're doing that in an authentic and accurate way. And at the end of the day, I think that's going to be a very rewarding experience for our players. So over the course of the next 2 weeks, we're going to be dropping videos and posts that show all the things that we discover about our journey through Egypt and its legacy of incredible artifacts and archaeological sites from this culture, which is gone to a certain extent. But, you know, we've been meeting with Egyptian peoples, and, you know, they have deep ties into this culture still. And they cherish it, and they take care of it, and they represent it in this really authentic and responsible way. And it's an incredible privilege to be here and to meet with them. And it's also fascinating that, like, Egyptologists are taking a real interest in what we're doing. You know, we're all fascinated by ancient Egypt. How could you not be? I mean, this is not a green screen, right? Like, we rented this flat because it gave us a view of the Great Pyramid of Giza and Khufu and Menkaure. Like, there it is. You know, the only standing seventh wonder of the world, right? Because what could possibly knock it down? And, you know, so we love the fact that we had the privilege to be here and take our inspiration from this setting, right? And to meet with the peoples that are living this every day. Like, this is their culture. You know, I think that one of the things about TTRPG in general is we're paying a lot more attention to being true to people's identification, to people's cultural identification, and to their culture. And that's super important. And you know, what better way to do that than to come to Egypt and really dive into that experience? So that's what we're doing, you know, and so our team of game designers is here in order to make sure that as we go through this process, we're being authentic and we're being true to ancient Egyptian culture as interpreted by modern Egyptian peoples and modern Egyptian Egyptologists. And I've never been so excited in my life. This is the fulfillment of a lifelong dream. And, you know, I hope you enjoy it.
One and only. Cheers. Cheers, Dave.
Did you get that? Maybe.
Take it from the top.
Yeah. That was good.